Hello, welcome again. I am Todd Runnebaum, and this is Bunny Hugs Mental Health, and this is YouTube. Hey, remember to hit and like and subscribe and all that stuff. You can also follow me on Instagram, Bunny Hugs Podcast. That's it. This episode originally aired in April 2023. His name is Jeremy Evans, and he had his face ripped off by a bear. And he talks all about that, and he talks about the hard work he's doing for PTSD research and, you know, his journey with PTSD. So without further ado, I give you Jeremy.
Started a chair position at the University of Calgary for PTSD research and research into recovery and into PTSD. So I'm trying to get this set up because my ultimate goal is to help people and to raise money for PTSD research and recovery. So with the chair position, it's an endowed chair position at the University of Calgary. I got to hit 5 million in 3 years. And so part of the motivational speaking money will go to there. My swag, hats, that kind of stuff will be put right directly towards opening up that endowed chair position. That way that will last forever. That money gets vested in, and then the money that's generated off the 5 million is what runs the department, and whoever takes control of the chair position, goes out, gets more money for research, and just keeps growing it and growing it.
Interesting. Huh. Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So you have to raise $5 million.
Yep.
Huh. And you have swag.
I do. I got water bottles, Grizzly Dude water bottles, and I got my you can bear it on there. I got hats. Well, I was nicknamed the Grizzly Dude by a 9-year-old boy. He was the first person to see me, and he called me the Grizzly Dude. And the people at the lodge, called me the Grizzly Dude after I was there because they didn't want the media to know my name, and it kind of stuck. So when the book came out in September of last year, I created the logo, and I figured, put it as my team's background just to help promote my book at work. People said it was a great idea, so I got T-shirts made and come up with a slogan. Now we got bookmarks, hats, water bottles, Yeti coffee mugs, and that's part of the trying to build a brand to sell, so I can make that $5 million.
So where can people buy that stuff? Grizzlydude.com?
Grizzlydude.ca.
.ca. As soon as I said .com, I was like, nice, Canadian, it's CA. Well, perfect. Yeah, I'll definitely put all that stuff in the episode and in the episode notes and stuff too. So don't be surprised if I buy a hat.
Yeah, no problem, man. I can send you out a package.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. Okay, so you were out hunting or something, or do you want to, or start wherever you usually want to start?
All right, so I was out sheep hunting. I left my truck I drove out to the place where I go sheep hunting, and I arrived there about 2:30 in the morning, and I got on my truck, hopped on my bicycle, and rode my bike back in a little over 12 kilometers to where I normally look for sheep. So I rode my bike out there in the moonlight, nice fresh air, kind of love it. Nobody out there. So I got all the way to the back. When you get to the back, where you get to where the trail ends, it kind of goes from like 2 ruts down to a horse trail, from there down to a game trail, and then it goes through some pretty steep drainages, and then you kind of pop out near the end of the valley, or yeah, I guess the end of the valley, right where North Burnt Timber Creek comes out of the mountain. There's a nice little bowl in the back, and I spent all summer in there looking for sheep. And so I was out there the day before opening day.
What time of year is that? Fall?
This is August 24th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So my whole plan was to spend 4 days out there, get there the day before sheep season opened up, set up camp, find my ram, harvest them, and then hike out, and then have a day to relax before going back to work. So I'm out there. It's about, say 9 in the morning, and I got up to one drainage there, and as I got up the drainage, there's the spruce trees kind of end, and then there's more short willows, and the trees are really short. I spotted some sheep, and I got pretty excited. So, watching the sheep taking a step, watching the sheep for 10 minutes, take another few more steps, watching the sheep, just trying to figure out where they're going to go and where I'm going to set up camp. And then I spotted some rams. And I was sitting there with my elbows on the handlebars watching sheep. And then I stood up to reposition, As I stood up to reposition, I noticed a little brown thing run in front of me. It was less than 10 feet away, and I knew right away what it was. It was a grizzly bear cub. And I got this feeling of, oh shit, because there's the cub, where is mama? And this thing was super close. So I was reaching out in my backpack to grab my bear spray. And as I was reaching down in there, I heard a branch break over my right shoulder. And as I turned to look, there was mama. She was less than an arm's reach away. She had her right paw stretched straight out to grab me. I could see her teeth. Her mouth was slightly open. You can see the whites of her eyes on the left side. And I really had like half a second to react. I grabbed the frame of my bicycle and threw it in front of her and stepped aside. Her head went right between the frame of the bicycle, and she had it on like a necklace. She turned, looked at me, and first thing to do was grab my frame pack, and I smashed her in the face with it and then started beating her on the head. She managed to get a hold of my right hand and pinch it against the backpack, crushing my hand a bit. She let go, and then I started to keep bashing her in the face and in the head. Then she turned and started to walk away. And I was like, oh, good. I started to walk backwards and watching her and trying to pull my bear spray on my backpack. As I was trying to pull the bear spray on my backpack, she spun around and came charging in a second time. I call this beginning of round 2. As she turned around and came charging in, I chucked my backpack at her, and I decided I was going to run up the mountainside. And the whole plan was run up the mountainside and kind of jump off the steep hill into a tree, hopefully get enough height, and she won't be able to get me. Well, I found a nice tree, about an 8-inch caliber tree, not a very big one, but it was the only tree in the hills I can climb. I jumped into the tree and I got about 5 feet up. My right leg was hanging low and I was trying to pull it up. Well, she got to the base of the tree right behind me, and you can hear her just huffing. Like, she stood up on her hind legs and wrapped her paws around my right leg and was bringing it down in her mouth. And I just remember looking down and seeing her mouth come up, grab me right behind the right knee. I was thinking, this is going to hurt. And she grabbed on, and I don't remember feeling any pain, but she grabbed on and she shook her head down, pulled me out of the tree, just like nothing. So I hit the ground very hard, and I curled up in a ball underneath the spruce tree, and I wrapped my arms and legs around the trunk and was holding on. She was digging at me quite aggressively with her claws, trying to get at me, and the spruce boughs were protecting me, which is, kind of good. Then she got fed up with it, and she reached in with her mouth, and she grabbed me by the side, on the left side, in the kind of love handle area, grabbed me by there, picked me up, and threw me about 6 feet. And so I hit the ground extremely hard. I was out of breath, trying to catch my breath, and I curled up into a ball. And as I was curling up in her ball, she was on me instantly. Like, I had no time to take that breath, nothing. And then her first bite was on the left side of my face. Her canine teeth caught on either side of my eye, right up in the corner of my nose and my tear duct, and the other side of my eye. And she crunched down, crushing the whole left side of my face. That was the first bite, and I remember sitting there thinking, like, well, this sucks playing dead, right? Like, chewing on me, getting chewed on sucks. So I rolled over to my back, started punching her in the face with my right arm, poking her nose, poking her eye, grabbing her ear. She was snapping at my hands, and I was trying to deter her from biting me. Then she come down to bite me a second time in the face, and this was like a great moment, because the way she came down, it was just her head was in a perfect position for me to punch my left hand into her mouth. And as I punched my left hand into her mouth, I remember feeling her tongue and having my fingers slide along her tongue and feel the bumps like leather and all the little scars and everything. Then my hand, I wrapped my fingers around her tongue, and my index finger, middle finger went down into her throat, and I was holding on to her tongue for dear life. She started to gag and choke, making like a pig squeal or grunt, and gagging. her back legs were digging into the side of me, the right side of me, because she was over top. And I was trying to push her hindquarters to get her legs off of me. Yeah. And as I was doing that, my hand slipped and I hit the belly. And I knew it was the belly because you could tell by the thinner hair, more soft skin. I reached up and grabbed at the time what I thought was balls. It was just basically a big hunk of loose skin. I grabbed that, twisted and pulled, and she made a horrible sound, just like a pig, like a, and then started squealing like a deep pig. Hand in her mouth, whenever I had it, it was causing her pain. And I was holding on, squeezing. And then I felt comfortable enough that I let go. She ran back the way she came, and she was just defecating all across the mountainside and squealing like a pig, just running away. I was like, okay, good, that's over with. So I stood up, dusted myself off, got to my pack.
Was your eye still in your socket? Like
My eye was still there. I was just
your
chunk of my
face?
face was missing, was crushed. So I got back to my pack and opened up my pack, and the first thing I did was pull up my cell phone and I took a selfie of myself to see what it looked like. And so in the selfie, you could see that my left side of my face was crushed and there's a bunch of skin missing on parts of my head. So I took that picture and I'm looking at it and going, well, that sucks, you know. But I could still go over there and shoot that sheep, or I can go look for this bear. I think a little bit of shock was kicking in.
I suppose, yeah.
So as I'm sitting there on the hillside, I pulled my gun off my pack and I was leaning against a stump, kind of debating what I should do. And about 7 to 10 minutes have gone by, and I'm kind of like, okay, what do I do? What do I do? So I was loading up my gun. I had the gun against my left shoulder, and I had the clip in my hand, and I was pushing shells into the clip. As I was doing that, I heard a sound of ice breaking, and my arms just dropped to my side. Everything went numb. She had come back and grabbed me by the back of the skull, and she started to drag me back into the bush. And I just remember seeing her paws come on the side of me, digging into the ground, and she was just huffing and just dragging, kind of like a dog when you have like a pulling tug of war and you kind of growl and you get real dig in. So she was dragging me back. I remember dragged through some bushes, and then I was kind of sitting on my butt, leaning against something. I think it was her front legs. And I remember her paw come over the right side of my face, catch me in the corner of my nose and mouth on the right side of my face, and it just cut right into my face, removing all the skin in my ear on the right side. And I remember her other paw was around my shoulder, and she started chewing on my neck and on the back of my skull and just gnawing at me like a dog bone, like just grinding away. So she's sitting there chewing away and ripping and tearing, and I couldn't do nothing. I was almost like paralyzed. It felt like she must have repositioned. I fell back and I was laying on the ground. At this point in time, my left eye was hanging out of the socket, hanging down. My right eye was smashed into my skull. Actually, I didn't think I had a right eye. And large majority of my face, the skin has been removed. So now I'm laying on my back. I could feel something above me. I could kind of see a dark object. I reached up with both hands. I felt something that was soft, grabbed both hands, twisted and pulled, and I wrapped my legs around her head and neck and kind of locked them in like a UFC fighter type thing. And whatever I had, I was going to rip off. And so I was pulling on it hard as I could, legs wrapped around her neck. She rolled around the mountainside, jumping and bucking like a bronco, and just deep, deep squeal. And she started to roll around and toss me around like a rag doll, but I was holding on for dear life. I then felt comfortable enough that she got the hint. I let go. She ran down the mountainside and just squealing, really squealing as she ran away. So
it was round 3.
This is the end of round 3. That's correct.
Jesus.
So when she took off, I was unable to stand. I couldn't see. In order to look forward, I had to tilt my head back, or I had to pick up my left eye and hold it up and look around. I was feeling my face, and I could feel skull, and everything was, my whole eye sockets were just smashed. My nose was gone. We're just hanging there. So I couldn't stand. I crawled down the hill, and I managed to find the trail, and then I found my pack right away. And I found my gun, feeling around. I found my gun right away. And then I tried to put a shell in the chamber. And as I was trying to put it in the chamber, I couldn't. My fingers were, broken and facing different ways. So I couldn't get a shell down the chamber. I couldn't see. And I was panicking because I needed the clip. As I was feeling around for the clip, the first thing I found was my mustache and goatee. And then I found a chunk of my face, then my right ear. And then I found the clip, slammed it in the gun, and the first thing that was dark to me got 3 bullets, just bang, bang, bang. Um, so then so after picking up all these pieces of my face and all that, I'm sitting there going, like, what do I do? Like, I'm not going to make it. So I pulled out my phone and sent my wife a message, let her know that I was mauled by a bear and that I'm not going to make it. And, I'm sitting there kind of debating what should I do. I can't stand, I can't walk. I'm bleeding all over the place. My whole skin off my head is removed. So I decided I was going to commit suicide. And so I figured it'd be, the best way to go. So I loaded up the gun, put it underneath my.
Sorry, you had kids at home at this point too?
Yeah, I had an 8-month-old daughter at this time.
A 1 month old.
8 month.
8 month. Oh, sorry. Okay.
8 month. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about my wife and my daughter. I'm never going to see her again. I'm never going to see her graduate, grow up, walk down the aisles. Never going to see my wife again, my first true love. And it was really tough to put my goodbyes on a text message and send it to her. I knew she wasn't going to see the messages. I had no signal, but I wanted to at least let her know that I tried. And I wanted her to know how bad it was. Because I didn't want her to think I just gave up.
Well, so if they found your phone or something too, like they find your body and then they find your phone, I guess the message would be there too.
Correct. And that was
Right,
the whole purpose
gotcha.
of, so when they found me, that she actually knew what I went through and it wasn't just, like a little bite night. Yeah.
Right.
So I'm sitting there kind of debating, I just made my decision and I loaded up the gun and stuck the butt of the gun against the ground and the barrel against my chin and I pulled the trigger. The gun just clicked. It just went click. And I was like, what was that? So I moved the gun away and I cocked it again. And I pulled the trigger and it just sent a bullet inches away from my head. And that scared me. I was like, what am I thinking? Like, what am I doing? No one's going to find me where I'm at right now. I'm so far back in that no one's going to find me for a very long time. And my wife deserves a quick answer. Like, she deserves someone to find me right away and let her know so she's not worrying because we got a young daughter at home. So then I made the decision that I'm going to try to make it to the next trail, make it across the drainage where more people go. So I gathered up my pieces of my face and I put a sweatshirt on upside down on my head, a long sleeve shirt, opened it up, the body of the shirt, and I laid the layers of pieces of my face on top of my scalp, folded the shirt up, and then my jaw was all hanging down on the left side. Everything was, all the skin was removed and muscles. So then I tied a knot underneath my chin to help hold my jaw up, and then I tied 2 knots on the back of my head to help hold my head straight, tied it really tight, and then I tried to stand up. And the first 10 feet, I probably fell over 100 times. I couldn't get on my feet. My right leg just would give out. All the ligaments were severed at the knee. And I had a chunk missing on my inner thigh. And I also had a big chunk missing on the left side of my, where my left handle was. I had a pretty severe wound there. And so I'd stand up, try to take a step, fall over. And I'd get back up again and take another step. Excuse me. So the first 100 feet of the trail, it leads down the edge. It's a rocky trail, leads down the edge of a drainage. And it's pretty steep. It's probably the most steepest part of the whole hike. So I started making my way down there and I lost my footing. And I tumbled head over heels all the way down to the bottom of the drainage, a few 100 feet, all the way down over this little cliff and into some massive boulders. So I'm laying there, I'm pretty mangled up. I'm in a lot of pain now. I can hardly move, and I've given up. This is where my final resting place is. So I pulled out my phone and text my wife and let her know that I tried. I sent her my one last goodbye, and it was, I tried, honey. So I'm laying there in the boulders, and I'm just thinking, I can't go on. And I turned to the music on my phone, and I played the last song that I played the night before for my daughter when I was putting her to bed, which was Baby Shark.
Oh God,
So,
don't get it in my head.
so I'm laying there on the rocks listening to Baby Shark. And just that song now means so much more to me. It gave me the strength, the power I needed to actually crawl back up the other side of that drainage. I wanted to make it somewhere where they're going to find the body. Like I knew I wasn't going to make it. I just wanted to make it 10 more feet down the trail, up to the next rock, to the next tree.
Mm.
And I just remember crawling my way through, focus on, I'm going to make it to that rock. And I get to that rock. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to make it to that next rock. I get to the next rock. I'm going to make it to that little bush. And every rock, stump, patch of bush was its own little challenge and sucking away little energy I had. But I was driven to see my family again. The determination, it was all I just wanted to do this for them. I wanted to make it somewhere where they're going to find the body. And throughout the whole journey out, I set all these little mini goals. I'm going to make it to that tree. I'm going to make it to the next trail. I'm going to make it to the outfitters camp. And when you set those mini goals, I achieved incredible things that day. Well, I'm here today. I didn't give up. The whole time thinking about my family and wanting to be with them, and that was one of the biggest drivers on that day.
Hmm. That's it's pretty amazing. I mean, and it's like it is a bit like life, isn't it? It's like you can get overwhelmed thinking about the entire thing, but you just take it one day at a time, be present now, and set small goals. And it's amazing what
you can achieve.
Yeah.
Because if I was thinking about I'm going to make it, I'm going to go to the truck, I would have never have made it.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, get to the next tree, get to the next trail. And when you set those mini goals, it started to create a sense of
accomplishment.
Yeah, and it erased my sense of powerlessness at the moment. I didn't think about how the situation I was in. I was just more, I could do this, and started building more and more momentum. And as I achieved more and more of those many goals, you said it erased my sense of powerlessness. Despite the gore and despite the reality at the moment, it was a huge confidence builder.
Did Baby Shark play the whole time?
Yes, the Baby Shark played on repeat for the whole entire hike out, even to, well, I made it to my truck. And then once I got to my truck, I hopped in it. I remember starting the truck up and looking out the front windshield, and I couldn't see the end of the hood. I rolled down the window, and I couldn't see the ground. I was like, how am I going to get out of here? All I could see was like just dark green on the sides and a light spot in the middle. So there was a heavily spruce tree area, and I figured the light spot was the center of the road, and the green was the edge of the road. And so in between that, and off I went. So it was about 22-kilometer drive from where I was to the first place for help.
Man, you were in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, pretty much.
Holy shit.
So the road out of there, it has lots of twists and turns, a couple, it's got a cliff drop off on the one side quite a bit. It's got two very tight serpentine turns in it. Yeah. There's a guardrail, not really a guardrail, just like a steel post and a cable that kind of run all along the road. And I thought I was hitting that all the way down, just using it as my guide. I guess I didn't, because my truck was in pretty good shape. But I made it to this resort, it's Panther River Resort. It's like a campground and a place you stay in cabins in the middle of nowhere. So I pull into there. Full parking lot, and I try to park in between some vehicles just because I'm, kind of want to be polite, not drive up to the lodge. And I couldn't.
Still in shock, apparently.
Yeah, I couldn't fit in between the two vehicles, so I said, "Screw it! I'm going to drive right up to the front door of the lodge." So I drove right up to the front door and parked right, and there's like a ramp going up, and the building's kind of like an octagon. And I walk up this ramp, and I was there the week before. We stayed there, wife and I and daughter. We stayed there, so I kind of knew the layout. I get up on top of their balcony, and this is it's an old wood cabin in a shaped like an octagon, and it has long trusses that come down, log trusses that stick out onto the balcony. But when you're walking in, I'm tall enough, I hit my head on them. So I was tilting my head, making sure I didn't hit them, and I can't really see. And the whole front of it is all windows, so you can see, people can see out. And I noticed this little shadow in the window, a small kid size, run away from the window. And at this point in time, I was opening up the door to the lodge, and I just hear this little boy say, Grandma, someone's trying to play a prank on us. Because I literally look like a zombie. I'm wearing shorts, t-shirt. I'm covered in blood. Got this paper towel and toilet paper kind of wrapped up, holding my head together with some medical tape and that.
A sweatshirt.
Yeah. And walking, I'm missing my face and walking. I'm like,
one room, non-smoking, please.
Yeah. So I get into the lodge, and I could kind of mumble and talk a little bit, and I was like, I need some help. I got mauled by a bear. And they're like, oh my God, what can we do for you? And I handed them my wallet, my license, and said, here's my name. Grab a pen, call my wife, let her know I'm all right. And then I asked for a glass of medium temperature water, no ice, and a straw.
Oh, you're fussy.
Don't know why. Yeah, very fussy. Come on, I just fought off a bear. I should get what I want, right?
I said no straw.
So I'm sitting there in the lodge, and they're calling 911, trying to get a helicopter or something in there. And then as they're in there trying to get calling the helicopter and that, I was bleeding all over the place and blood's dripping all over the floor. So I got on my knees and I started to clean the floor and clean off the tables. I was making quite a mess. So as I was cleaning up, the lady goes like, "What are you doing? Like, get up!" And then they took me out of there, threw me in my truck, and from there they decided that they were going to move me to the backside of the lodge in my truck to wait for the helicopter. And as we were sitting there, the ladies in the lodge were running back and forth across the parking lot and just check and give me updates and let me make sure I'm all right. And they kept running back and forth, and I was yelling at them, go like, "Hey guys, like, calm down. I'm just missing my face. You guys just need to calm down and focus." I was more worried about them making a mistake and getting hurt, and I have to help them out, or them making a mistake and I would die. Because when people are in that panic situation, they don't quite make clear decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So I was trying to keep them calm, and there was a young lady. She was 18 at the time. That was actually at the truck with me. That was sitting there making sure I was all right, and I was talking to her, and just what do you do when you're sitting there missing your face, trying to have a conversation, right? So I'd ask, like, "What's your name? How old are you? Do you have a boyfriend? What do you do for fun?" Just trying to keep the mood light.
Does he have a face?
Yeah.
I can't believe this, man. The shit you went through, and then you're trying to keep other people calm.
Yeah. Well, like when people panic, it was scaring me because I was tempted just to drive to Sundre, which is about an hour and a half away from where I was. I was just going to say, I'm just going to drive straight to there because who wants to help me? Everybody's going to be freaking out, and they're like, "Oh my God."
Did you see yourself in the mirror? Like in your rearview mirror or anything? You avoided it on purpose?
I did. I ripped my mirror off and removed the window because the side mirror. I knew it wasn't good.
Otherwise, you'd be like them. You'd be panicking like that.
Yeah. And so the one lady came and said, her stars wasn't coming out, but her father was. He owned a helicopter, and he was coming out to do to fly out to pick me up, take me to Sundre. So she's like, "He'll be here in about half hour, 45 minutes." And I'm like, "Okay, no problem." So I got out of the truck, and I tried to grab my fishing rod out of the back, and I was going to go do some fishing because there's a stream there. It's got great bull trout fishing. Heck, if I'm going to wait 45 minutes for a helicopter, I'm going to at least do some fishing.
Fucking one-track mind.
great. I wanted to go in to do that. Well, I'm trying to get my rod out, and the one lady's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I want to go fishing." She's like, "No, you're not. Get back in the damn truck." I'm like, "No, I'm going to go fishing."
I took 3 days off work for this,
That's right. She's like, "Get back in your truck." All right. So I got back in my truck, and I was sitting there like, "Well, can we take my boots off? Because my feet kind of hurt." And she's like, "No, just sit there. Just like, can you just like calm down and wait?" So the helicopter arrives, and I walk over, hop in the helicopter in the back, and it was really fancy. From what I could tell, the helicopter was really fancy. Like top of the line. It had like 6 seats in it, big helicopter. So they got this tarp in there, and they helped me get in. So I'm in the helicopter, and they normally put the earmuffs over you. And, well, I couldn't hear, so I didn't have any ears. They didn't give me the earmuffs. So it was quite loud. I remember the helicopter taking off, and I was really trying to look out the window because I haven't been in a helicopter in the mountains in a while, right? So I was like trying to focus and look out the window, and I was just really like staring out the window, trying to get a glimpse of what it looked like, but I can't see, and everything's so blurry. And
Do you still have an eye dangling?
yeah, yeah, my left eye was still dangling out. My right eye, I thought it was completely gone, so I couldn't really see what was going on. So I'm trying to look out the window, and I was leaning over trying to look out the window, and I'd feel this poke in my right side, really hard poke. And I turn and look, and it was Amanda, the lady at the lodge. She was poking me. And as I turned my head to look at her, she'd pull this tarp up high, and I wouldn't be able to see her face. I'm like, what's going on? So I go back out, look out the window, and then I get this large jab on the side again. I turn my head, and there she is holding the tarp up again. I'm like, were we playing peekaboo here? Like, leave me alone. I'm just trying to look out the window. Well, what it turns out was she thought I was passing out, so she's trying to wake me up. And then when I turned to look at her, blood would squirt out, and she was holding the tarp up to cover herself. But to me, it just looked like she was trying to play peekaboo.
Good Lord.
So anyways, we land in Sundre, and I could tell there's people outside the helicopter. Everybody looked like they're just like lollygagging, just kind of like standing there, like dude, like, no one's in a rush. They opened up the door to the helicopter on my side, and I remember I turned and looked, and I said hi, and then shock set in. People started going crazy. One of the doctors tried cutting in the back of the helicopter around the other side of the helicopter, but there's an open tail rotor. So Amanda, she jumps out, dives, tackles this helicopter, or tackles the doctor, trying to hold him down, trying to fight with him because
He'd get his head cut off.
yeah, and she's like, "There's an open tail rotor, like wait till it stops," and everybody's trying to pull me out. So she's yelling at the doctors and nurses, saying like, he can get out, he got in, just leave him be. So I'm trying to get my leg out. And at this point in time, my right leg was totally straight, seized straight. I couldn't bend it. I was trying to get over the seat, and everybody, trying to grab and drag me out. And then I just feel these two little arms come underneath my chest, underneath my armpits, around my chest, and pick me up from behind. This little nurse climbed in the back of the helicopter, wrapped her arms around me, and just slid me right out like nothing. So they threw me in a gurney, and off I was there in Sundre. I wasn't there very long, probably 20 minutes, half hour. They got things all kind of stable or figured out what to do, and then they threw me in an ambulance to Calgary.
How far a drive is that?
It's about an hour and a half-ish.
Oh, okay. That's not so bad.
So not so bad. So I was attacked at 9:36 a.m. I made it to hospital that night at 9:17 at night.
So how long did how long did it take you to get from the end of the bear attack to the lodge? How long was that?
So I made it to the lodge about about 4:30.
So it was like 6 hours it took you to get out of the woods.
It was a little over 12 kilometers in the bush that I can crawl out.
Good God. Man, I'm just sitting here trying to think, would I have made it, or would I have? What the hell?
I got to say, ADHD, I think, played a big role in it.
Okay, then I would have made it.
As an ADHD person, you can't wait for things to happen. You got to make it happen, right?
You're too impatient to die.
Yeah, like I'm gonna die. I gotta die like now. I can't wait for this, right? Like I think, well, I mean, that's,
And hyper focus too, right? It was like
yeah.
the hyper focus of getting out of there.
I mean, all jokes aside, I think, ADHD may had a little bit of play in there. I'm mostly the drive of my family and everything, but
Yeah.
um, yeah, I think that being hyper focused and the fact that you can't sit still, you got to always be doing something, you know.
Jesus. Huh. Yeah, that would be a long wait sitting in your truck with a stranger for 45 minutes waiting for a helicopter. Maybe she should have just let you go fishing.
It was pretty funny. I mean, we had yeah, I can joke about it now. It was a pretty serious at the time, but
Oh God, I can imagine. Good Lord,
everybody,
having your beard on your head, like your face is on top of your head, tied to. Uh,
yeah,
oh, good
it was a
God.
it was a pretty interesting scene. I remember the ladies were telling me about it afterwards, what it looked like, and just how everything was like black and there's all this dirt in there, and just my left eye hanging down, jaw open, and you can see all my teeth and how everything was just
Mm,
kind of dangling. Um,
good Lord.
so I made it. This is where this part here to me is the easiest part, was the bear mauling and getting out.
Right.
I
Yeah.
would go fight a bear tomorrow if I knew the outcome. The only thing I don't want to go through again was the PTSD side.
Mm-hmm.
That was the worst part, and I don't even wish that on my worst enemies. That is hard. So I got into hospital and they did 13-hour surgery right away. They woke me up the following day in ICU. And from the moment they woke me up to every time I went to go to sleep, I would wake up in major flashbacks. The bear was coming back. The bear was going to get me. So I'll be, you know, trying to grab things, trying to pull tubes out, just totally reacting. Of course, people would touch my chest and I just started hitting them or grabbing them because it's just like what the bear did. I have a very good friend. He was there from day one with my wife. And what he would do every time I'd have a nightmare flashback, he would massage my feet. He would squeeze my feet and he'd be like, "You're in a safe place. You're in a safe place." And that would help me get out of the nightmares or the flashbacks.
Hmm.
So throughout the hospital stay, I had to have somebody with me 24/7 to help get me out of those. It'd be, then the strangest things would set it off, like an ice machine. They had one in the hallway, and every time that would go off, I would go right into a flashback because it sounded like your skull being crushed.
Jesus.
So it was a huge struggle. I had a sister that used to stay with me at night, and she'd be there all night long. And of course, as soon as I go into a flashback, she would massage my feet, squeeze my feet, take me out. Like I'm a fairly large individual. I'm 6'2", and I was probably about 250 pounds when I got mauled. It was in pretty good shape, so it's pretty hard to stop someone like me swinging around.
Hmm.
We had signs on me, signs on the walls that if I'm in a flashback, squeeze my feet because I've hit a few nurses, a few doctors because I go into a flashback and they don't know what to do. That was really hard. So I was in the hospital a total of 5 weeks in one day. Um, Once I got out of the hospital, at home, flashbacks. Every time I go take a nap, everything, it just constantly. Uh, from day one in the hospital, I asked for psychiatric help. I knew I wasn't able to get past this on my own. I was already seeing somebody for ADHD, and I
Coaching
knew,
or
yeah,
like it.
and
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I knew I needed help. I knew I wasn't going to be able to get past this on my own because after I saw a therapist with ADHD and how much of a change it made in me, I wasn't going to recover on my own. I needed that help.
Hmm. I bet.
So, so from day one, we got a therapist there. We worked through a lot of things. Like I didn't want to look at myself in the mirror. We actually covered up all the mirrors and everything in the hospital room. I didn't look in the mirror till mid-September. That was the first time I ever looked in the mirror. And
Hmm.
on that day, we planned that day. The nurses there in the hospital worked together. They cut my hair for me. They trimmed up my beard, my face. I didn't have any stitches in my face at that time because this was mid-September, about 3 weeks after the bear mauling. So they made me look really good. My wife got me a nice plaid shirt, and they dressed me up. Therapist came in, and what we did was they took my phone and they took a picture of me, or the iPad took a picture of me, and then I had a lot of support and a lot of friends there. and looked at it for the first time, and I was in shock. I actually looked pretty good. I thought I had all kinds of things missing, and because you
Mm,
feel around, nothing feels the same. Like to have no feeling,
mm-hmm.
you see all the staples are pulling out. So that was good just to have that support.
Mm, yeah. I mean, I don't know what you looked like before, but that's probably an improvement.
Well, my
No,
left
I'm
side
kidding
here
you.
looks pretty good.
I'm kidding. But what a story you have now. Oh
Yeah,
Lord. So how many years ago was that?
this was a little over 5 years ago.
Okay. And so well, how did you get through the PTSD? Like how long did that last? To the like I mean, I suppose it's a spectrum, right? From like flipping out every time you nap to I'm assuming you're still having issues.
Actually, today I'm doing pretty good.
Hmm.
So throughout several years after the attack, we figured out when most of the triggers were. At the time, I worked at a slaughterhouse, and the first time I smelled blood, I went into a flashback. And so, okay,
Mm.
there's a trigger. I would keep a daily journal and keep track of what the stresses were, what things I did for help possible triggers. And if I had nightmares, I write down what the nightmare was about, um, what happened, what I did that day, what did I eat. Because being a person with ADHD, you gotta consistency is key.
Mm.
And same when it comes to PTSD, consistency is key so you can help find the triggers. That's what it was for me.
Mm.
Well, I'd write down everything, keep track, uh, and then I'd look at it back with my therapist. We'd go through it and see, oh, okay, so the sound of plastic breaking or ice pushes you into flashbacks. So now train your brain to change that from your skull cracking to actually what it is. And just avoiding those areas, avoiding the blood, the smell, just, there's lots of things we talk about and try to figure out the triggers. For the first 3 years, it was we kind of got under control, and then it started getting really bad again. We didn't know why. Um, it's the strangest of things. It ended up being that I was working out, and that was causing me to have severe flashbacks. And it was to the point where I was only sleeping about 12 hours a week.
Mm.
I couldn't get every time I'd close my eyes, bang, and wake up right away. And it was weird. Um, Before the attack, the year I got mauled, I I was had a personal trainer. I was getting into shape, and that's what I did. Well, now 4 years later, 3.5 years later, I'm trying to get back into shape again because I got out of shape due to the recovery and trying to. So who knew that that would be a trigger? It's strange how
Mm.
PTSD works.
Mm-hmm.
So when we figured that one out, then it was trying to how do you treat that or how do you get past that? Where it hit an all time low for me was about a year, a little over a year ago. I got home early from work and I beat my wife home. And my daughter, she's still pretty young, they came home and I was sleeping on the couch. I fell asleep on the couch. My eyes don't close. Like this is me with my eyes closed.
Mm.
It's great for babysitting. So
You can
my
work
daughter thought
security.
that's right. So my daughter thought I was awake and she come running in the house being a young kid. She wants to jump on and play with daddy.
Oh no.
So she come running in and she jumped on me. And now to wake me up at this time, you had to squeeze my feet to wake me up. Otherwise, I go into a severe flashback. So she jumps on me. I grab her, threw her across the room.
Mm.
She got hurt. My wife is sitting here trying to hold me down, trying to wake me up, trying to deal with my daughter. I wake up, I'm confused. I whack my head. There's blood all over the place. And I'm don't know where I am. The bear's coming and I wake up confused. And that was very, very hard. That was like a very scary moment for me. This can't
Mm-hmm.
be how, life goes on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I made an appointment right away with my therapist, let her know, like, this is we need to do something. We need to try something different. And she was researching, I was researching, managed to get into this program called ART, Accelerated Resolution Therapy, which is rapid eye movement and voluntary image replacement.
Is that like EMDR?
Uh,
Or is that something else, I guess?
I think it's something else. I'm not sure. It's
Okay.
ART is a short term accelerated resolution therapy,
Okay.
and it I was going to give it a try. So we got into the session, and this is where keeping an open mind is very helpful because you get in there, and what they do is they basically wave a hand in front of your face, and you replay the scene in your head. At first, I'm sitting there thinking, what the heck is this? Like, is this voodoo magic? Like, you wave a hand in front of my face. What's it going to do? But if you think like that, it's not going to help you.
Hmm.
I just, like, let's give it a try. Let's try to focus exactly on what they're telling me. And that's what I did. I did the first session was 45 minutes. That night, I slept for 7 to 8 hours straight, no nightmares. None.
Hmm.
Total shock to me. It was totally changed my life. I did 3 total sessions over 2.5 months. And since then, I've had a couple very minor nightmares right around when the book came out. And I had one that my wife had to wake me up from.
Hmm.
But, and that's in over a year, which is incredible. And one thing I got to say, for treating for PTSD, don't just give up with one type of treatment. Keep trying. There is one out there that will work for you. Don't give up. And even though you don't think it's working for you, it takes time. Your mind takes time to heal, and you will eventually. It will help. Just keep,
Hmm.
just keep kicking. Just keep trying.
Huh. Yeah, I'm intrigued on this ART. Like I've heard. Have you heard of EMDR? It's like
Yeah,
eye
yeah.
movement thing too. Is like you go you. I'm interviewing someone in a couple of weeks about it too. She's like that's her mode of therapy she gives people. So I'm looking forward to that because I've heard of it many times and I don't understand it. Um, so there's ART like so you have to. It's basically you have to relive the trauma. Then you're sitting there. They're telling you
Correct.
to as a which is like you want to do the opposite, right? You're like I don't want to think about this shit anymore. Like so now they're making you while they're
Well,
waving
what
their
the,
hand in your face.
yeah, and it's weird, but they said to think about it as if you're like in a drone, or if you want to be there on the scene. So think about you're in a drone and somebody else fighting the bear, you're controlling it, or you're the guy fighting the bear.
Hmm.
And then they go through the first 20 minutes of the attack. And then they stop you, like, do you feel any kind of anxiety or any pressure anywhere? And you're like, yeah, I feel a little bit in my chest. Okay, well, think about that pressure. Think about what it feels like. And then they wave a hand in front of your face again, and then you just breathe. They tell you to breathe into that space and think about that. And then
Hmm.
after a couple of minutes, they say, do you still have it, or did it move somewhere else? Well, yes, now it's in my right leg. Just using it as an
Hmm.
example.
Hmm.
So breathe into that space, think about it, and process it. And it's really weird. And it, like I said, I was totally amazed.
Hmm.
It, totally a game changer for me. And
Have you? Sorry, you were going
and
to
what
say.
one of the things that kind of proved it was me and my daughter were playing big game Cabela's Hunter, or Cabela's Big Game Hunter, and we're chasing caribou up in Alaska. And I haven't played this game in many, many years. So as you're playing this game, a grizzly bear pops out, jumps on you, and starts ripping and tearing at your face. So I'm sitting there playing this. My wife is there. This bear jumps out. I fight the bear off, and I'm like, yeah, time to turn this game off. Put it away.
Hmm.
That night, my wife stayed up all night thinking that it was going to be a rough night, but I slept solid throughout the night. When
Hmm.
before, if a bear came on screen or a sound of one, I wouldn't sleep that night. And so that was, you know, that's how effective it was for me.
Hmm.
My therapist told me I shouldn't play that game after that. She says, I recommend you just tossing that one out. Don't keep testing yourself.
Yeah. My wife does a thing called body talk, and it's also very weird, and you have to kind of have an open mind, and it's kind of similar. It's like your body will physically hold in different spots trauma and stuff, and then they do like this tappy thing, and I don't know what the hell she does, but it's kind of like voodoo witch magic stuff too. But it's amazing, yeah. Like yeah, it's same thing. It's like some people just absolutely swear by it, and amazing. Like, who fucking knows what works or how your brain works or what the hell happens?
Yeah, and I like to describe it as like nowadays electronics, you got to hold like three different buttons down to reset a clock or something.
Right,
And
right. Yeah.
and it's so difficult. Yet like with this ART, it was like the same thing. They're trying to reset your brain. So, like put your left leg in the air, do the hokey pokey. Like it's weird how it works, but it was very effective for me.
Good, good. Oh, that's amazing. So what kind of if you get on if you get your 5 million and you get on the board for
The,
PTSD research, is there some things that are already in mind that you wanna look into?
well, I'd like to look into more of the treatment and a little bit of research side. So, uh, how endowed chair position works at a university is you pick the kind of study that you want to go into or you want the chair to go into. And I'm picking on for PTSD research on PTSD and treatment for individuals with say with ADHD or different levels, the chemical levels in their brain. I can't pronounce all the scientific words for it, but I'm working on that.
I'm just a chair.
Yeah. Well, I'm not the chair. I'm just the
Oh,
one
right, right.
that I'm trying to raise the money. And then once the money is raised and you get and then it's endowed, which means the money is there forever.
Hmm.
They don't touch the 5 million. All the money generated off the 5 million of it being invested runs the department for the research. So
Gotcha.
then they go into a process of hiring a chair member, and the chair member will carry on will drive the research and can go out and get more funding to help fund the project or fund the research.
Hmm.
And then it just grows and grows and grows, and then they have to share, globally what research is. um, I'm not saying this is bad or anything about, I can give it to an organization, work with certain groups with PTSD. I don't want to, that would help a small amount of people. I want to help a large amount of people. I want something to be there forever. I want to start something that I want it to grow and be there forever and be able to help people all around the world, just not little pockets here and there.
Hmm.
This is where I think the best use of that money is.
Mm-hmm. It's a good idea. Yeah. I've never heard of this. And it makes sense. Like you said, it'll just be forever research now.
Correct.
And
Yeah. And
yeah.
that's what excites me. I mean, there's lots of good organizations out there for PTSD. Don't get me wrong. There's
Mm-hmm.
lots of them. And I was trying to find one. Which one do I want to work with? Which one shares the same views as me? And there's some decent fits. And I'm like, but if I give them money, like how many people is that actually going to affect?
Mm-hmm.
$5 million to say we go to 1,000 people, but where like that $5 million can go to 1 million people over a lifetime, right? So what would be better for
Mm-hmm.
me? I think that's the better way to go.
Every psychologist on earth could benefit from the research that could possibly come out of that.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and it can be used down the road. Like, I mean, you won't see results tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
but 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, there might be mega results. And that's what I'm more into, building the future. I'm more of a futuristic person.
Mm-hmm. And I guess there's all types of PTSD too, right? From like chronic to acute. Like I would say yours is more acute. It was it was super traumatic in like a 10-minute span, where other people like for 10 years or an abusive you know relationships and all types of stuff. And then that might be a different type of treatment would work for them, or as opposed to an acute kind of
Correct.
trauma.
And then and also too, I think that like your serotonin and dopamine in your brain may play a part of it too. Like if you're ADHD, are you going to have the same treatment as a non-ADHD person with trauma? Because each person deals with it differently. And so I'm kind of interested in like the chemical levels in your brain, how that affects treatment. Does it? Is there
Mm-hmm.
different ways we need to approach it? And so that's where that intrigues me. And because I have ADHD, that's one of the areas I think, there's a lot of ADHD people that suffer from trauma, and there needs to be more research and more help for those individuals. I'm not saying that war vets or anything don't need treatment, but
Mm-hmm.
this is just kind of more the area I want to go towards.
So having ADHD and trying to recover from PTSD, was it? Do they say it's harder for people with ADHD to recover from PTSD, or is it just different?
Each person is different.
Hmm.
Um, all I was gonna say is, as an ADHD person, you want to give up when things get tough.
It's all or nothing,
That's
baby.
Yeah, you got to go and keep an open mind. It's really hard to keep an open mind when you're doing some of these things because as an ADHD person, your mind's running that 1,200 to 1,800 words a minute. Someone's waving a hand in front of your face. You're thinking, this is hokey. Get out of here. I don't trust you. Right?
Hurry up and cure me.
That's right. You just got to take that deep breath and relax and trust them. They're experts in their field for a reason, and keep an open mind. And it's very, very tough as an ADHD person. Trust me, it's very tough.
Yeah, I found that in recovery with addiction. It was like, okay, I quit drinking. Why aren't I feeling better? And it's like I was sober for a week. It's like,
yeah.
Oh, fuck! It takes years. Oh, God damn it. I'm feeling much better now, though.
That's good.
So, are you happy with the way you look, and your wife doesn't look at you weird, like, you know what I mean, like, because that would be a bit of a mind fuck too, is like looking in the mirror and not accepting your new appearance, and
that was very tough because on the right side of my skull here, there's two divots in my skull, and they were down about 7 and 8 millimeters, right? So there's bone and plate there, and the skin and scalp was moved right off my skull, so they're exposed bone. And during the time into the hospital, they were trying to patch it up, and they moved a piece of my head over, and that skin started, or that patch of flesh started to die. So they put it back, and then they just covered it with skin graft. Well, those two divots used to bother me quite a bit. I look in the mirror, when you take a shower and water would build up in them, and then they're like purple and ugly. And those used to give me some anxiety. My face looking used to bug me. I wore a hat or like a neck gaiter over my head to cover it for quite a while. And now I'm like, whatever. I get half price haircuts. Like there's just so many things you can look that come out of the good out of it. So I don't wear a hat much anymore. I don't mind showing it off. I don't care if people stare. It's a part of me, and I'm proud of it. Like, I survived something traumatic, and this is like a trophy, I guess.
I'm guessing some people think you're fucking badass. You fought a fucking bear, man. You had your face ripped off, and you fucking drove to a helicopter. Like, fuck.
It is. I get a lot of. Yeah, the grizzly dude. I get a lot of people sending me messages about how they're a hero and all that. I wouldn't call myself a hero. I'm just a guy that rejected bear bait, really.
Fuck, that must have been terrible. Like, were you scared she was coming back too, like through that whole 12-kilometer hike to your truck?
Yes and no. After I fired a couple shots and I fell down the mountainside, I kind of forgot all about the bear. I was like, whatever, she comes back. Already at this point, I've accepted my fate and didn't care. But through the PTSD struggles, she was always coming back.
God. Well, did you see that movie? What's his name's in it? He's attacked by a bear.
The Revenant.
Yeah.
The Revenant. Yeah, like they played that. The nurses played that for me in the hospital.
No.
Yeah, they did. They're like, you should watch this movie, because in the hospital I joked around with the nurses. We had a lot of fun together. I had some very great nurses, and just seeing the stress they go through in a day, they'd want to come to see me because I joke with them, and I was never a needy person. I don't really want them to wait on me hand and foot. And then you
just wanted no ice and no straw.
Basically, yep.
Anyway,
just keeping. I joke about and have fun. So I had a pretty good sense of humor. So they turned on the Revenant, and we watched the bear scene where the bear fights the guy, and I'm like, oh, that guy's a wuss.
That didn't freak you out?
It did a little bit. Like I said, it did cause some nightmares, but
thanks, nurse. You're pushing your limits.
I was, but it was just, I don't know. It just had to. Like, I just wanted to see you.
I would have too. Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, what's the name of your book and where can people find your stuff? And
Yeah, so the name of the book is Mauled Lessons Learned from a Grizzly Bear Attack. You can find the book on Amazon or at your local bookstore, Indigo Chapters. There's lots of little bookstores out there that also carry it, or bookstores like Stacy's Happy Place in Eckville, Alberta. It's in quite a few bookstores in Red Deer, Calgary. You can also buy the book, a signed copy of the book on my webpage at grizzlydude.ca. And there you get a signed copy of the book, and then you get a fancy bookmark with all my sayings, like, you're unbearably awesome. You could bear it even when you think you can't.
the bare
Not all
necessities.
yeah, oh, no, that's a good one. I have another one, like, not all teddy bears are friendly. And then remember, don't poke the bear. You got to have fun with it.
Yeah. Now that you are throwing fits of fear in the middle of the night, yeah, you can. I suppose. I mean, I guess even then you were probably having some fun with it.
Oh, you got to have fun with it. I mean, it is a tragic thing, and I use humor to help cope with things. So that was one of the other things is, keep a smile on your face and always think of the good things. Don't
Right.
focus on the bad. And when you're in these tough situations, think about your family, because that's one of the most powerful forces on this planet is your family. And the love for them can get you through some of the most harshest things. Believe me, trust me on that one.
You haven't met my family. Oh, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I'm sure I could find some good in them.
I mean, they're sticking with me, so they got to be pretty good. Be sure to subscribe and to like this video. You can listen on Apple Podcast and Spotify. This is Todd Rennebaum saying, make your beds and take your meds. Keep watching for more interviews with incredible people telling their stories of resilience and adversity with mental health and mental illness.